Hello, friends. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Novelists Unwind. I'm Johnnie Alexander, and my guest today is Jennifer Odom. And this is a really special treat because Jennifer is sitting in front of a home that used to belong to her grandmother. And Jen, I'm going to let you tell us why this is where you wanted to be and where you wanted to be, tape our interview, record the interview.
This is really a special place. It's one of the settings in summer on the Black Suwannee, grandma's house, actually. And in the second book of the series, it's also a setting. So we follow Emily along where she is living, and that is her place in the next book. But it's an important place in the book.
And it's important to you. So yes. So tell us about that and where you are.
Well, this is in, I better not name the town in Central Florida.
Okay.
It's a town in Central Florida, and it's called a made-up name. The made-up name is Gaskell, and it's patterned a lot after this town, but it is not the exact town. It just has some nice locations that are tweaked and put on new streets, and so it's patterned after, but it's not the same town.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And so let's talk about your book. And I know you have a copy of it there. It's young adult, Summer on the Black Suwannee, just came out this past summer. And Emily, yeah, can you hold it up even closer to the camera? There you go. The heroine is Emily. She's 15 years old. And tell us a little bit, without giving any spoilers, tell us a little bit about the book and about why you think readers should grab it up.
Well, it is, I think the important thing to remember is her mother didn't think she needed to pray about this thing that they were going to do together. She just thought it fit together so perfectly, which is not something we can assume in the Lord. We have to pray about it, and we have to ask God to speak to our heart if something is right or not. And so they get into a situation, and at first Emily is just perturbed. She doesn't appreciate this place, but then not too long after that, her feelings change to horror, and she discovers that the something about the character of these people and the child's clothes that she's found and some other things that are going on. And at the end, they have trouble. I mean, do they get out alive? Can she get her mother this message of what's going on when she's kept apart from her? Can they get out of there on time? It's quite a chase, and we'll keep you on the edge of your seat.
I would agree with that. I would say that is definitely true, and there is a bit of a supernatural element to it. So tell us about adding that to your story and why that was important.
And what was that? Did you repeat that?
A supernatural element.
Right, supernatural. We don't realize how important it is to pray about things. There is a supernatural pulling two ways in our lives, and we realize that sometimes, but we have to pray about it, and sometimes people can discern that, and so you might or might not see that in this book.
Yeah. Well, one thing I really appreciate about the book, and we're seeing that with even just having this interview be held at a home that is so precious and dear to Jen, her grandmother's home. She used it as a setting in the books. But this book is so...
Talk a little bit louder. The air conditioner over there is really loud.
Well, I was just talking about how important the setting is, and how important the setting is to Florida. You're from Central Florida. The story takes place along the Black Suwannee River, which indeed is kind of black because it has tannin in it. So it has this, it's not like this blue crystal clear spring. It's got tannin, so it's kind of dark, tea colored. But I just love how, and you yourself are so interested in places and in Central Florida, and Florida is such a cool state. So I guess just talk a little bit about the importance of having the setting and how it determined events in your story. If you can, this story has such a strong sense of place. I don't think it could have taken place anywhere else. It had to be Florida.
Yes, Florida has so many beautiful places, and if you don't go exploring, you don't even know they're there. And this particular, the inspiration for the location for that part of the Suwannee came from the place where my husband's family would take their family reunions every year. And it was such an impressive place. It's right by a spring, but the spring flows right into the Suwannee, and you can actually see the line where the clear water hits the black water. And the black water does come from further north up in the Okefenokee, and there are a lot of springs that feed into this water, but it's like tea, very strong tea. It's beautiful. It's clear. You can't really see through it. Like you can't see through a pitcher of tea, but if you put a small amount into a clear vase, you could see through it. It's just very stained water. And it comes from vegetation up at the Okefenokee, where it's seeped through, the tannins have seeped into the water. And but anyway, there is personality to that river, and there are just different locations along the river. This particular part is in the lower Suwannee, where it's low, the banks are low, and they're weedy, and it's quiet, and you hear the owls sing, and it's worth seeing. You might see it if you read the book.
I think so. Well, tell us a little bit about how you became a writer, why you wanted to write this story, but also just writing in general. Why writing?
Well, listen, when I was a little kid, I certainly didn't know how to write. I only saved one or two pieces of writing from my childhood, and they sounded like I was on drugs or something. So I did not have writing training. But about 15 years ago, this idea woke me up early one morning. It had to be about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I went with that, and I thought, well, that is such a good story. I should give that story to Frank Peretti. Well, I was very naive. I didn't know how things work. Frank would laugh. I think a lot of him, I don't know him personally. I just think his writing is awesome, and he reveals a lot of truths about the spirit world, and which I appreciate. And but I think he would just have a big joke out of that. So anyway, I took this idea before I knew better, and I told it to my pastor up in Jacksonville, where we visit sometimes. And I said, I had this great idea for Frank Peretti. He said, God gave you that idea, not him. You write it. Well, that started me on a journey of learning. I got it on paper, and of course it was just terrible writing. But I started studying and joining groups to talk about writing, and I started going to conferences where I met you. You were my first and most precious editor. You taught me so much. And it just started that way, and it's been 15 years since that started. But one can never learn enough. And in the meantime, I've written other books, and hopefully the next one will be out before Christmas. But you have to learn about it. You can't just go write something down and say, I'm done. That's an important lesson for writers. I don't care how good they think they are. I didn't think I was very good. I knew better.
Oh, but you have won awards. I know that you were the 2015 Florida Christian Writer of the Year. You got that award, which is very nice.
Thank you.
And I also want to talk about your teaching background. Excuse me. Because, writing for the young adult audience isn't easy. You have to be able to tap into that, into them, and know their language and know what they're going through. So you taught middle school and were teacher of the year and did all kinds of creative things. So How would you say being a teacher helped you write the story?
Well, let me think about that. Being a teacher, you have to be able to get things across.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teacher, I always was interested in getting the children excited about the great things that God has created, because it's beautiful out there. Even
Yeah.
in a fallen world with the briar weeds, it's beautiful out there. And just, give him praise for what he's created. And if you can keep that spark, I think you'll enliven whatever age that you talk to. You can inspire them. I think one thing that helped me a lot was when I was learning about video production and what goes into that, and trying to teach my little second graders
Oh.
how to run the iMovie program, and how to think. Uh, that's a lot like writing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a story arc. You need to figure out what picture you want to show. What do people need to see when they? And you can also learn a lot through television.
Yes, that's
Television
true.
teaches a lot of those things. But
Yeah.
I just think that keeping it fresh, keeping it enthusiastic, and trying to inspire were
Mm-hmm.
all helpful in this. And just purposefully trying to express how good things are. Not good necessarily, but beautiful things
Mm-hmm.
are. Does that help?
Yeah, I think that's really, really great. And I love that you talked again about, nature and God's handiwork and all, because I also read on your website that you're a master gardener, and I have a brother who's a master gardener, so I was familiar with that, but that you're also a master naturalist, and I had not heard of that before. So can you tell us a little bit about what it means to be a master naturalist?
Well, I haven't completed all the studies, but there are more to do. I'm working on
Okay.
that, and I think every state in region in the state would have its own program. This is through the University of Florida. That doesn't make me a University of Florida student,
Right.
but it's one of those little off on the side things that they do for old people.
Oh.
Well, you don't have to be old. You don't have to be old, but I mean, if you have time on your hands,
Sure.
take these little classes, and they'll pick a type of land like the coast. Like
Mm-hmm.
we spent several days in Cedar Key. We went to classes. We studied the shoreline. It is really good if you can do it. It involves hiking and
Oh, fun.
picnicking and meeting new friends. And if you are wanting to go somewhere interesting, find the Master Naturalist classes, and find one you want to do and sign up and put on your hiking boots and go. It's
That
worth
does
it.
sound fun. And Florida, of course. I mean, so for those of you watching, I live in Oklahoma now, but I lived in Florida most of my adult life. I wasn't born or raised there, but most of my adult life. Met Jen when we were both members of the American Christian Fiction Writers Group there. Florida is an amazing state. And of course, a lot of people go there for Disney and Universal and SeaWorld and the theme parks, but or the beaches. But there is so much. It's not the same. I mean, we've got the coastlines, we've got the ranch lands. We've got just, I don't know,
There's
all
the
kinds of, yeah, all kinds of habitats and different, environment. There's the Everglades, which are so different from the northern part of the state. So if you're going to go, think about some other things you can do besides the theme parks and the beaches, because there is so much there, so much to explore. It's fun. How long have you lived in Florida, Jen? Are you a lifelong resident?
Oh yes, I was born here, and in fact, my great grandfather came was right after the Civil War, and I think they were giving away the 160 acres. He
Oh,
settled on it, and I believe that's how he got his land. But anyway, he settled in Central Florida, and then came my grandfather and my dad, and all in the same little area. And but here we still are, and I love it. I would hate to give it up.
oh, it is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I'd love to go back. I really would. All right. Well, let's talk about real quick. Again, let's show your book, Summer on the Black Suwannee, young adult mystery thriller. Jen's right, kind of on the edge of the seat kind of reading. The first book in the Black series. Now, is the second book the one that's coming out before Christmas, right?
Right. We're discussing the title, and the series is, of course, like you said, the Black series, and we're discussing a change on the title, formerly called Heads, but thinking about the title change, and so it'll sound more like this one.
Yeah, have that same rhythm, sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I understand. I've gone through that. I understand.
Well, when you're first starting out writing a book, this book was called O-N-E. That was
one
for the longest time, because that's where it all started.
Sure.
And the other one was just a quick, what can I call it? I call it Heads, so we'll change it later. That's, I think, the way it's done.
Yeah, the marketing team. Yeah, the marketing team will put in their input. They'll have different ways of doing things. But you've also written a lot of magazine articles too, right? You've written for Focus on the Family. Who else have you written for?
Well, I wrote, that was a children's topic, and a little story for them, and some random magazine things that sounded like fun, and ended up in main reviews, juxtaposition with a short story, and
great.
Some newspaper articles on interesting people. I like to meet new interesting people and write about them, like the blind man who makes furniture.
Wow. Wow. Is he there in your town, near where you live?
He's in this town, yes. Yeah. And but you can on my website find. I got a little tired of writing for the newspaper because those stories no longer belong to me. I wanted to keep my things.
Sure.
So I started writing my blog about these interesting people, and he was one of the features. And yes, these people are all around this Central Florida area. So just people that I bump into. Hey, can I do a story on you? You're really cool. And
I love it.
It's fun. People don't mind. They like it. Some people kind of think maybe I shouldn't be out there like that, but most people are okay.
I think it's wonderful. I mean, people are so interesting, and everybody has their own story, and it's very nice, I think, to have someone like you show that interest and share that story on your website. That's really cool. I saw the last one was something about a woman in sheep in Florida, raising sheep in Florida. So,
I think people are under-recognized.
Yes. Yeah.
And they deserve to have their day on stage. Here's what I do. I'm good at this, and I count too.
Yes. Yeah. So I invite everyone to go to Jen's website. It's jenniferodom.com, and Odom is O-D-O-M. I don't know how many times I have misspelled that over the years, but I think I finally have it correct in my head.
If you think of an odometer.
Yes.
Odom.
I was I was always putting an E in there, and then I'd say, I don't think that's right, and I'd go check, and of course it wasn't. So jenniferodom.com. It's a really nice website, and it's got some fun pictures on it. So you're working on the work tentatively titled Heads, getting ready for it to be released later. Are you working on something for after that already?
Oh, yes. I had the third book in the series. They're all supernatural themes. Well, with a good dose of supernatural. They're people with supernatural things in the
Yeah.
background. And then I have a middle-aged book. I can't remember whether you read that or not, Johnny.
I don't think
Peanut
so.
Man.
Oh, I've read parts of it. Yes, I've read some of it at least.
Okay, and I'm also I have a couple of works in progress. One is Under the Mango Trees.
Oh, I like that.
It's a love story for new adults. And another one that I'm really chomping at the bit to get started on. It's called Yankee Woman Soldier.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I've got it kind of ready to go, but I had to stop and do some other things first. You know what that's like.
I do. That's the writing life.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. Hold that thought.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, it's been so delightful to talk with you, and especially, having you there at your grandmother's house and knowing that it's a beautiful, beautiful setting, and to know that inspired you. That's really cool. Of course, my very last question I ask everybody: when you're done with the project, you hit the end, what do you do to unwind?
What was the question?
What do you do to unwind when you're all done with your project?
Oh my goodness. I get my unsweet iced tea.
Unsweet.
Candied to sugar. Unsweet iced tea. And I find a comfy chair and I get a book and I read.
That's a great answer. Great answer.
You can never read enough.
I know. Who's one of your favorite authors? Who do you like to, or what genre do you like to read when you're?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I do enjoy thrillers, and it's no secret. Frank Peretti, hands down, is my very favorite. But I love a lot of authors. I think Mark Manier is highly underrecognized.
I like Mark Manier. Yeah.
Mark Manier is awesome. And Johnny, your
thank you.
Your historic novels and romances are so awesome.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
They're done right. They're done right, not schmaltzy. They're beautiful. And I just have a lot of favorite authors.
There's a lot of good ones out there. There truly are. Well, thank you again, Jen, so much. And for everybody that's watching, I just really appreciate you, and I hope you've enjoyed this interview. See you next time on Novelists Unwind.
Johnny, so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Good to see you.
You too. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.